For a while, a comment that kept coming up constantly was that fasting was going to make your stomach acid go too high, cause huge problems with your stomach. Some people believe that this excludes them from being able to fast because they have some reflux, but fasting can actually help a great deal with ulcers, digestion, reflux, and many other issues if approached carefully. A lot of things that might take months or years to adjust with diet, and which require you eliminating a lot of foods such as sugar, if they can be changed at all, become easy if you can manage to do some moderate length fasts in the 72 to 96 hour range.
No. Simple maybe, but not easy.
First off, stomach acid is more important than you may believe. Without it, you can't properly digest meals, and critically, you can't absorb B12 and other fat-soluble vitamins from your meals, and this causes big problems with your brain over time. This deficiency could cause depression, lack of energy, erratic thoughts and behavior, or even blindness if it becomes serious enough. This is a big reason that older people have trouble eating as much food as they once did. On top of this, they also have an elevated need for protein in order to keep from losing what lean tissue and muscle they do have. So this sets the stage for physical degeneration. Thankfully, this is not something that has to occur, and if we take the right steps, we can be almost as strong in our old age as we were in our youth.
I'll crush you like a paper cup.
Surprisingly, most people, including most doctors, seem to have little idea what causes reflux, heartburn, and ulcers.
Don't know? Don't know?
The root cause is carbohydrates, and especially sugar and grains.
But the thing that I want to bring to your attention is damage at the junction of the esophagus and the stomach. Very, very common. If you've ever had heartburn or acid reflux, if you have reactive airway disease, rotten enamel, rotten back of your teeth, all of those are signs and symptoms of acid reflux, where stomach contents, even small bowel contents, bile, goes up into the esophagus. And there are a significant number of diseases that can occur in that area that can be pretty powerful, and they're very common. So right here in my office, we've got what's called an upper GI machine, or a fluoroscopy. It's a video x-ray, and we can look at the function of that stomach, of that esophagus. How does my esophagus contract? Is there reflux? Do I have a hiatal hernia? We do that in the office. Normally you have to go to a darn radiologist, and your doctor gets a report that they don't understand, and what can they do? They can throw a pill at you. BS. So now you're on some medication, a proton pump inhibitor. I'm taking my Prilosec. It doesn't work. I still get heartburn. And we've got to understand what's happening. Now, there are certain food types, certain things that we eat, and certain problems that relax that sphincter and prevent it from closing after that food has entered the stomach. And everybody out there, oh, it's caffeine, oh, it's red wine, oh, it's alcohol, oh, it's... Those have a minor role. Just spicy food. No, spicy food doesn't cause the relaxation of that sphincter. You just feel it because it gives me reflux. Here's what causes relaxation of the sphincter, folks. Carbohydrates, sugar and starch. Sugar and starch, insulin resistance, causes relaxation of that sphincter. Fat, saturated fat, triggers hormones in your stomach that tighten that sphincter. So a high carbohydrate, low fat diet is the commonest, severest cause of gastroesophageal reflux, of relaxation and dysfunction of that lower esophageal sphincter. The best treatment for acid reflux is a low carbohydrate, high fat diet.
It's also now proven that the main cause of ulcers is H. pylori.
Not only is the cellular mechanism protective of acid, it actually produces acid, but it's got a slime layer, a mucus layer on top of it. And that mucus actually keeps the acid in the stomach, but prevents it from chewing up those cells. So just an aside, if you get an ulcer or if you get gastritis, that's where there's little holes in the membrane and the acid has chewed a hole into the stomach lining. Stomach lining should be protected. And in fact, what's interesting, just as an aside, there's a very common bacteria called Helicobacter pylori, H. pylori, very common in our stomachs. It's the only bacteria that lives in the stomach in acid environment, and it lives on the mucus in the stomach lining. So it chews holes in that mucus like Pac-Man, and then the acid gets into the stomach and can burn the stomach, and it can cause gastritis or inflammation like sandpaper on your skin. It can cause ulcers, which are much bigger holes, and it can cause cancer. It can even perforate the stomach. So that H. pylori should be looked for, and every family doctor as a screening test should be looking for H. pylori. We look for it on every bit of blood work that we do. We look for H. pylori. Treatable, difficult to treat, but treatable, and causes huge problems.
H. pylori is often present in the gut microbiome, and it can colonize the stomach, which can cause a great deal of problems. And it thrives in a low acidity environment, that is, one which is not as acidic as your stomach should be, but is still much higher than most bacteria can tolerate. For this reason, when it colonizes the human stomach where it does not belong, it attacks the acid-producing cells in order to lower your stomach acid. And this bacteria is entirely pathogenic. It doesn't serve any good purpose in your biome. H. pylori is a form of SIBO, or small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, and is largely driven by a high-carb diet, especially from grain and sugar consumption. Lower stomach acid makes digestion more difficult, and this leads to a vicious cycle where digesting healthy foods such as meat and eggs, and also digesting greens if you think that's healthy, becomes very difficult, and more junk food tends to be consumed. This allows the H. pylori to colonize the stomach even further and cause even worse problems and put you down the road to ulcers. Unfortunately, the medications doctors generally prescribe for this make things even worse in the long run by greatly lowering stomach acid, so it only gives the illusion of benefit.
He's alright, he's fine. Look at him.
But where's his brother?
Avoiding sugar and grains will help eradicate these pests and heal the stomach, but simply reducing carbs can be difficult because low stomach acid reduces your ability to properly digest meat. On the other hand, milk will both soothe the stomach and help kill off these bacteria because lactoferrin in milk destroys them. This works best in fresh milk, especially raw milk. And if you can't get that, then try and get regular pasteurized milk, not the UHT stuff. The UHT pasteurized stuff is done with a really high heat, and it's very unlikely to have functional lactoferrin left in it, and it will also be full of damaged proteins that could lead to allergic reactions that cause lots of autoimmune problems. You can also purchase lactoferrin as a supplement, and some people who have serious problems should probably just do this and just add it in until it starts to resolve. If you have trouble with milk, it's generally because your microbiome is not used to it, and this can be overcome by slowly introducing it into your diet. Raw milk also causes fewer problems, if any, because it does not have the degraded proteins that can cause allergic responses, and most people have no trouble with it at all, even if they're lactose intolerant. And even if you're lactose intolerant, This just stops you from drinking large amounts, such as drinking a half a gallon of milk all at once. You should be able to tolerate a cup of 2 of milk per day over time, especially spread throughout the day, especially if it's raw, which has enzymes to help you break down this milk. L-Reuteri also kills off H. pylori, and it's very effective in this duty. So some L-Reuteri yogurt with bilberry added to increase its activation could help a great deal as well. And I talk about how to make this yogurt, but you can just buy the supplement if you have a lot of trouble making it for some reason. But once you understand the process, it's really pretty foolproof. But I'll address that again in another video sometime. Vinegar can also help with H. pylori, but of course this can be difficult to stomach when you have this kind of problem going on. You can probably suffer through this, but if you watch the video carefully and proceed cautiously, perhaps you won't need to.
You're a magician, not a wizard. You've got to get your hands dirty if you're going to achieve the impossible.
1, 2, 3, go. I thought you said I had to get my hands dirty.
Well, someday perhaps you will.
Dietary changes will help slowly over time, but only fasting can quickly regenerate your organs. It does this through growth hormone release, and the faster the cells in the body replicate, the more growth hormone will help regenerate them when the fast ends. Stomach cells are among the fastest replicating cells, so a 72 to 96 hour fast can have a dramatic effect in healing your stomach ulcers. On top of this, the stomach has a unique healing mechanism called BPC-157, or Body Protection Compound 157. This is a hormonal peptide produced by damaged stomach cells in the body that was discovered in recent years, which is proven to cause extremely rapid tissue regeneration anywhere in the body. When stomach cells are damaged, such as through ulcers or by damage they undergo during a fast, this compound is released to cause rapid tissue restoration. The flip side of replicating more quickly is that the cells also die off more quickly in a fast, while cells like brain cells don't die at all during a fast since they replicate very rarely. That means that during a fast you're going to be releasing a lot of this BPC-157, and this is actually the real legitimate reason it exists in the body, because the stomach is very delicate and it has to be able to repair itself very quickly, but this special mechanism can allow that to happen quickly after a fast. This property is very helpful for reducing hunger over time, because in people who are obese, the stomach will shrink over time when you fast, and it's really the size of your stomach that dictates the amount of hunger you have. And this reduces the release of the hunger hormone ghrelin from your stomach cells. And this actually comes right from the stomach cells. It's not from some organ somewhere. So the smaller your stomach is, the less ghrelin you release. That also means that large amounts of BPC-157 are going to be released while fasting, which means fasting will have a particularly strong effect on regenerating the stomach. And that also means people with a low appetite will have their appetite increase because it will create more of these cells. Basically, if your stomach is too big, it'll shrink. If it's too small, then it'll grow. Once you have serious problems, then besides waiting for years and hoping it clears up as you wither away, and as you get more problems like liver issues from your diet because you can't eat anything healthy, this is really the only thing you can do to get quick results that actually works, instead of the typical diabetes pyramid advice and all the random pills your doctor will shove down your throat.
You always were the better magician. You both know that. But whatever your secret was, you have to agree, mine is better.
But can you actually fast while you have stomach acid issues? If your stomach acid simply built up and up while fasting, Nobody would be able to fast whether they have issues or not. It would be lethal to even try, because acid is obviously very dangerous. Thankfully, that's not what happens, and the opposite is what happens. The longer you fast, the less acidic your stomach becomes. This allows the immune system to repair the stomach more easily because it's not being constantly bombarded with acid. You may need to control the acid temporarily by taking antacids or by taking some potassium bicarbonate to bring it down a bit. You will have to experiment how much you need. Just keep in mind the longer the fast goes on, the less you should need, and too much could cause a rebound of acid production. So I sometimes will take like a 1/4 teaspoon of potassium bicarbonate in water while I fast if I feel like my stomach is not feeling great. And also I just do that in general anyway because it's very healthy for your body on a cellular level, which I've explained in a few older videos. But basically it has many metabolic benefits and benefits for your kidneys. Proton pump inhibitors cause a lot of issues, and they can directly lead to H. pylori infestation because they lower your stomach acid. If you can get off of them and at least temporarily control your acid using bicarbonate or other antacids, then you will have a much better success with your fast and also restoring your digestion. And if you absolutely can't eat meat, then consider broth, which is already pretty much broken down, and this can help too. Just keep in mind that these meds like proton pump inhibitors tend to cause a dependency because your body tends to compensate for them. So you may need to work with your doctor to slowly taper off of these meds.
But if you could just get me well enough to get back to base.
Right. Kick ass.
Stomach issues can be very difficult to resolve, but unfortunately medications like proton pump inhibitors make things much worse, and so does the typical low-fat diet that's so heavily promoted to us. And when we have these problems, we have trouble eating a keto diet. H. pylori is the main cause of ulcers, reflux, low stomach acid, and indigestion, and this can present as acid reflux, leading doctors to think you have too much acid and making them prescribe you proton pump inhibitors and antacid as the answer. A lower carb diet that avoids sugar and grains will avoid this problem developing in the first place, and lactoferrin in raw milk can help to undo the damage. So can vinegar, but it can be hard to deal with in this condition. The probiotic L. reuteri also kills off this harmful bacteria that damages the stomach lining over time. It can be taken in the form of homemade live yogurt, and if you can't manage to do that, then you can also just take it in supplement form. It's just going to save you a little bit of money if you do it in the homemade yogurt. However, fasting is the ultimate way to regenerate your stomach. Only your immune system can heal the body, and fasting leads to the release of growth hormone and the hormonal peptide BPC-157 to heal and regenerate tissue, even as it more fully activates the immune bodies needed for tissue repair. Only during a fast is your immune system and its healing mechanisms fully activated, including the release of stem cells, which can help repair any part of the body and even serious problems such as ulcers. Not everything requires expensive surgery or dangerous meds to treat, but there's not much money in educating people on how to help themselves.
They'll beg you and they'll flatter you for the secret, but as soon as you give it up, you'll be nothing to them. You understand? Nothing. The secret impresses no one. The trick you use it for is everything.
One of the most powerful tools we have to heal ourselves is fasting. Fasting can be a bit scary, and many people have endless excuses why they don't want to try it, but you can only reap its benefits if you're willing to take a leap of faith.